Hello and welcome back to Brendan Moir's Playwright Corner, where I read plays, poems, or whatever's currently striking my fancy at the moment. Today we're going to have a little bit of fun and read the entirety of Saki's plays. Saki is a pen name for good old Mr. H.H. Munro, who was a British playwright and novelist in the 1800s, mid-1800s. Today we're going to be reading his three plays, otherwise known as The Death Trap, and then Carl Ludwig's Window, and finally The Watched Pot. This particular version comes with an introduction by J.T. Squire, so listen on. There are vagrant authors who, with sudden old zigzags, always elude the butterfly nets of criticism. Nothing much to the point, save in the way of mere unanalytical praise, has ever been said about Peacock's novels or the importance of being earnest. And the precise flavor of Saki is as easy to recognize and as impossible to define as that of a good claret or hock. Those who write about him are always tempted to discuss the latent qualities of the man whom they knew or whom they can deduce, to show that he satirized things that he hated, that he concealed profound affections, and that in spite of his jokes about all manner of catastrophes, he was a sensitive and humane man to whom cruelty was repugnant. This, no doubt, is all true, and occasionally his loves and even his fears peep out in his writing. It is, characteristically, in an appreciative essay on cats that he ends with, voicing in its death yell that agony of bitter remonstrance which human animals too have flung at the powers that may be, the last protest against a destiny that might have made them happy, and has not. But, generally, he was reserved in speech as in writing. It is enough for those who are not his friends to know that the jester died, overaged and a lance sergeant, in the trenches, and that his last words were, "Put that bloody cigarette out." To the commentator on his books, what most matters is not the man Murnau who concealed himself behind them, but the artist Saki who wrote them. And Saki was a unique example of the man who tells lies with a grave face. Defoe told lies with a grave face, but they were grave lies. Swift told lies with a grave face, but the gravity was often interrupted either by guffaws or by the rasp of indignation. The jumping frog and the stolen white elephant were inventions as admirable as Saki's, and as seriously recounted. But the telling was all to Mark Twain, and the phraseology nothing. Saki's themes were akin to Mark Twain's, though more extravagant, but his matter was more Max Beerbohm's. He related a fantastic fable with the most matter-of-fact air. But, not content with that, he polished his sentences with a spinstering passion for neatness, and chose his words as the last of the dandies might choose his ties. Writing brief stories and sketches for evening newspapers, he was as careful with the shaping of his paragraphs as the most anchoret of aesthetics writing for an elect few with glass-fronted bookcases. He expanded the pains of a poet upon modern fairy tales, in which wizardry was exercised by or upon cats and dogs, house parties, duchesses, and men about town, instead of giants, dragons, trolls, and princesses, and the logic of magic operated with trim perfection against a background in which villas took the place of castles, and tennis lawns were substituted for unfathomable forests. And, in telling these fairy tales, it must be admitted that his object was purely to amuse, and his incidental achievement to make the human race ridiculous. One half of the world believes that the other half invents. Mendacity and credulity were the spectacles in which he chiefly delighted, and when he was not almost persuading us to swallow his own prodigious lies, he regaled us with the sight of our kindred swallowing the lives of his favorite heroes and heroines, the remorseless children and cynical young idlers. To Clovis, the world was a forest of legs, all waiting to be pulled unobtrusively and with gentlemanly grace. In the end, the reader of Saki is pleased in proportion to the magnitude of the lie. The wolf, in which everybody believes that the lady has been turned into a female Siberian wolf, is delightful. But even better is Tobamori, in which a cat not only is believed to speak, and, without question, accepted as speaking, but actually does speak, and to devastating purpose. The whole theme being perfectly worked out until the grand culmination when the bold discoverer is killed because he tries to teach an elephant German verbs. In this present book, the confirmed admirer of Saki is almost sorry that the square egg is not actually produced, but is represented as an ingenious myth. The lie is good, but Saki could have pushed it farther. His people have to fit his plots. They are consistent not with life, but with themselves and the queer world of his conception. And he contrives, even if he be realistic only in his limited way, to throw certain truths into a highlight, and to express some, for to tell the unexpected truth is as much one of the conventions of his world as to tell the momentaneously obvious lie. It is a mere charming form of lying, to make people tell truths they will not tell, which are seldom expressed. The watched pot, most considerable of his promising dramatic efforts, may lack action, and be unduly strewn with elaborate witticisms, but there is a great deal of unaccustomed candour in it. Where it differs from the Slavonic plays in which people naively bare their souls is not in any extra remoteness from daily life, but in an occasional surprising contact with it. We can conceive of Chekhov in his gloomier moments as writing a play like The Watched Pot, in which a household woman should all be trying to marry a placid young man, and all continually confessing to each other, egging each other on, scratching at each other, or impudently maligning each other. Is Saki any more lacking in reality because he makes his dialogue witty? Or because he shows cook, butler, and housemaids as having a sweepstake on the event in the servants' hall? And half of his jokes depend for their force upon the exaggeration of truth. Rene remarks, "This suit I've got on was paid for last month, so you may judge how old it is." Here the truth is not important, except to tailors. With no more elaboration or afterthought, Saki would summarize aspects of world problems as they appeared to him, as in, government by democracy means government of the mentally unfit, by the mentally mediocre, tempered by the saving grace of snobbery. The form of this reminds one of Wilde. Wilde also might have written, "For all I know to the contrary, he may be by this time have joined the majority who are powerless to resent these intrusions." Although it took Saki to put into the mouth of an almost agreeable lady talking about her sick husband. We think of Wilde's plays again when, speaking of harvest festivals and the growth of imports, Claire says, "It shows such a nice spirit for a Somersetshire farmer to be duly thankful for the ripening of the Carlsbad plum." And in "So many people who are described as rough diamonds turn out to be merely rough paste." And in "There are heaps of coarse girls who are willing to marry commoners, if you set the right way about it." And in the repartee about Miss Volpe's makeup, and the sentence about the father who lived at West Kensington, but was sane on most other subjects, and the comparison of the accessibility of heaven with that of the House of Commons. Saki had all Wilde's cleverness at the substitution of a word in a stock saying or the inversion of a familiar proverb, and was an adept at contradicting our favorite cliches of word or thought, or strangely adapting them to unsuitable contexts. Yet though many of his sentences might be mistaken for Wilde's, none of his pages could be attributed to another man. They are all pervaded by a personal manner and attitude. The manner is the grave manner of the humorist who has opened a story thus. In an age when it had become increasingly difficult to accomplish anything new or original, Barton Bitterdale interested his generation by dying of a new disease. "We always knew he would do something remarkable one of these days," observed his aunts. "He has justified our belief in him." But there is a section of humanity ever ready to refuse recognition of meritorious achievement, and a large and influential school of doctors asserted their belief that Bitterdale was not really dead. The funeral arrangements had to be held over until the matter was settled one way or another, and the aunts went provisionally into half-mourning. As for the attitude after our initial disclaimer, no more need be said than that it was the attitude of the man who wrote. Whenever I feel in the last tempted to be businesslike, or methodical, or even decently industrious, I go to Kensal Green and look at the graves of those who died in business. He had seen half the world and had no doubt about his tastes, which he preferred to state by indirection. The Death Trap. Characters: Dimitri, reigning prince of Kadaria; Dr. Stronetz, Colonel Gernitza; Major von Tief; and Captain Schultz, officers of the Kronitsky Regiment of Guards. Scene: an antechamber in the prince's castle at Cern. Time: the present day. The scene opens at about 10 o'clock in the evening. Some rugs of Balkan manufacture on the walls. A narrow table in the center of the room, another table set within wine bottles and goblets near window. Right, some high-backed chairs set here and there around the room, tiled stove left, door in center. Gernitza, Von Tief, and Schultz are talking together as curtain rises. Gernitza:
The prince suspects something. I can see it in his manner.
Schultz: Let him suspect. He'll know for certain in half an hour's time. Gernitza:
The moment the Andreev regiment has marched out of the town, we are ready for him.
Schultz, drawing revolver from case and aiming it at an imaginary person. And then, short shift for your Royal Highness. I don't think many bullets will go astray. Gernitza:
The revolver was never a favorite weapon of mine. I shall finish the job with this.
Half draws his sword and sends it back into its scabbard with a click. Von Tief: Oh, we shall do for him right enough. It's a pity he's such a boy, though. I would rather have a grown man to deal with. Gernitza:
We must take our chance when we can find it. Grown men marry and breed heirs, and then one has to massacre a whole family. When we've killed this boy, we'll kill the last of the dynasty, and laid the way clear for Prince Karl. As long as there was one of this brood left, our good Karl would never win the throne.
Von Tief: Oh, I know this is our great chance. Still, I wish the boy could be cleared out of our path by the finger of heaven rather than by our hands. Schultz: Hush! Here he comes! Enter, by door, center, Prince Dimitri. He comes straight into room, begins taking a cigarette out of a case, and looks coldly at the three officers. Dimitri: You needn't wait. They bow and withdraw, Schultz going last and staring insolently at the prince. He seats himself at table, center. As door shuts, he stares for a moment at it, then suddenly bows his head on his arms in attitude of despair. A knock is heard at the door. Dimitri leaps to his feet. Enter Stronetz in civilian attire. Dimitri eagerly: Stronetz! My God, how glad I am to see you! Stronetz: One would have thought so, judging by the difficulty I had in gaining admission. I had to invent a special order to see you, a matter of health, and they made me give up my revolver. They said it was some new regulation. Dimitri with a short laugh: They have taken away every weapon I possess, under some pretext or another. My sword has gone to be reset. My revolver is being cleaned. My hunting knife has been mislaid. Stronetz, horrified: My God, Dimitri. You don't mean... Yes, I do. I am being trapped. Since I came to the throne 3 years ago as a boy of 14, I have been watched and guarded against this moment. But it has caught me unawares. Stronetz: But your guards! Did you notice the uniforms? The Kronitsky regiment. They are heart and soul for Prince Karl. The artillery are equally disaffected. The Andreev regiment was the only doubtful factor in their plans, and it marches out to camp tonight. The Lonyati regiment comes in to relieve it an hour or so later. Stronetz: They are loyal, surely. Dimitri: Yes, but their loyalty will arrive in an hour or so too late. Stronetz: Dimitri, you mustn't stay here to be killed. You must get out quick. My dear, good Stronetz. For more than a generation, the Karl faction have been trying to stamp our line out of existence. I am the last of the lot. Do you suppose that they are going to let me slip out of their claws now? They're not so damned silly. Stronetz: But this is awful. You sit there and talk as if it were a move in a chess game. Dimitri, rising: Oh, Stronetz, if you knew how I hate death. I'm not a coward, but I do so want to live. Life is so horribly fascinating when one is young, and I've tasted so little of it. Goes to window. Look out of the window. That fairyland of mountains, with the forest running up and down all over it. You can just see Grodwitz, where I shot all last autumn. Up there, on the left. And far away beyond it is all Vienna. Were you ever in Vienna, Stronetz? I've only been there once. It seemed like a magic city to me. And there are other wonderful cities in the world that I've never seen. Oh, I do so want to live. Think of it. Here I am, alive and talking to you, as we've talked dozens of times in this grey old room, and tomorrow a fat, stupid servant will be washing up a red stain in that corner. I think it will probably be in that corner. He points to corner near stove, left. Stronetz. But you mustn't be butchered in cold blood like this, Dimitri. If they've left you nothing to fight with, I can give you a drug from my case that will bring you a speedy death before they can reach you. Dimitri. Thanks. No, old chap. You had better leave before it begins. I won't touch you. But I won't drug myself. I've never seen anyone kill before, and I shan't get another opportunity. Stronetz. I won't leave you. You can see 2 men killed while you're about it. A band is heard in distance playing a march. Dimitri. The Andreev regiment marching out. Now they won't waste much time. Hush! He draws himself up tense in corner by stove. They are coming. Stronetz, rushing silently towards Dimitri. Quick! An idea. Tear open your tunic. He unfastens Dimitri's tunic and appears to be testing his heart. The door swings open and the 3 officers enter. Stronetz waves a hand commanding silence and continues his testing. The officers stare at him. Gernitze.
Dr. Stronetz, will you have the goodness to leave the room? We have some business with His Royal Highness. Urgent business, Dr. Stronetz.
Stronetz, facing round. Gentlemen, I fear my business is more grave. I have the saddest of duties to perform. I know you would all gladly lay down your lives for your prince, but there are some perils which even your courage cannot avert. Gernitze, puzzled.
What are you talking of, sir?
Stronetz. The prince sent for me to prescribe for some disquieting symptoms that have declared themselves. I have made my examination. My duty is a cruel one. I cannot give him 6 days to live. Dimitri sinks into chair near table in pretended collapse. The officers turn to each other, nonplussed. Gernitze.
You are certain? It is a grave thing you are saying. You are not making any mistake.
Stronetz, laying his hand on Dimitri's shoulder. Would to God if I were. The officers again turn, whispering to each other. Gernitze.
It seems our business can wait.
Von Tief to Dimitri.
This is the finger of heaven.
Dimitri, brokenly.
Leave me.
They salute, and slowly withdraw. Dimitri slowly raises his head, then springs to his feet, rushes to the door, and listens, then turns round jubilantly to Stronetz. Dimitri. Spoof them! Ye gods, that was an idea, Stronetz! It was not altogether an inspiration, Dimitri. A look in your eyes suggested it. I had seen men who were stricken with a mortal disease look like that. Never mind what suggested it. You have saved me. The Lonyardi regiment will be here at any moment, and Gernitze's gang daren't risk anything then. You fooled them, Stronetz. You fooled them. Stronetz, sadly. Why, I haven't fooled them. Dimitri stares at him for a long moment. It was a real examination I made while those brutes were waiting there to kill you. It was a real report I made. The malady is there. Dimitri, slowly. Was it all true? What you told them? It was all true. You have not 6 days to live. Dimitri, bitterly. Death has come twice for me in one evening. I'm afraid he must be in earnest. Why didn't you let them kill me? That would have been better than this to be left till called for business. paces around to window right and looks out. Turns suddenly. Stronetz, you offered me a way to escape from a cruel death just now. Let me escape now from a crueler one. I'm a monarch. I won't be kept waiting by death. Give me that little bottle. Stronetz hesitates, then draws out a small case, extracts bottle and gives it to him. Stronetz. 4 or 5 drops will do what you ask for. Dimitri. Thank you. And now, old friend. Goodbye. Go quickly. You've seen me just a little brave. I may not keep it up. I want you to remember me as being brave. Goodbye, best of friends. Go. Stronetz wrings his hand and rushes from the room with his face hidden in his arm. The door shuts. Dimitri looks for a moment after his friend. Then he goes quickly over to side table and uncorks wine bottle. He is about to pour some wine into a goblet when he pauses, as if struck by a new idea. He goes to door, throws it open, and listens, then calls, Granitze! Von Tief! Schultz! Darting back to the table, he pours the entire vial of poison into the wine bottle, and thrusts vial into his pocket. Enter the 3 officers. Dimitri, pouring the wine into 4 goblets. Prince is dead. Long live the prince. He seats himself. The old feud must be healed now. There was no one left of my family to keep it on. Prince Karl must succeed. Long life to Prince Karl. Gentlemen of the Krenitsky Guards, drink to your future sovereign. The 3 officers drink after glancing at each other. Granitze.
Sire, we shall never serve a more gallant prince than your royal highness.
Dimitri. That is true, because you will never serve another prince. Observe, I drink fair. Drains goblet. Granitze.
What do you mean, never serve another prince?
Dimitri rises. I mean that I'm going to march into the next world at the head of my Krenitsky Guards. You came in here tonight to kill me. They all start. You found that death had forestalled you. I thought it a pity that the evening should be wasted, so I've killed you. That's all. Schultz. The wine! He's poisoned us! Von Tief seizes the bottle and examines it. Granitze.
Poisoned.
He draws his sword and makes a step towards Dimitri, who is sitting on the edge of the center table. Dimitri. Oh, certainly, if you wish it. I'm due to die of disease in a few days and of poison in a minute or 2. But if you like to take a little extra trouble about my ends, please yourself. Granitze reels and drops sword on table and falls back into chair groaning. Schultz falls across table, and Von Tief staggers against wall. At that moment, a lively march is heard approaching. Dimitri seizes the sword and waves it. The Lonyardi regiment marching in. My good, loyal Krenitsky Guard shall keep me company until the next world. God save the prince! Colonel Granitze. I never thought death could be so amusing. He falls dying to the ground. Curtain.